Another day goes by, another freedom eroded away. It's like clockwork now in Great Britain, or as it's known, the UK. Because that's where we are, isn't it? We are a gross distortion of what was once a great country, with all of our most brilliant parts of freedom and liberty just slowly but surely being given away in the pursuit of so-called progress for uber-liberal socialist values. So what's happened? Well, Graham Linehan, who is a very famous writer, very famous comedian, he's been arrested. Again. But for what? What is the charge? What did he do so terribly wrong? Well, he tweeted. He gave an opinion. That is his crime. An opinion, right? What did he say? If a trans-identified male is in a female-only space, he is committing a violent, abusive act. Make a scene, call the cops, and if all else fails, punch him in the balls. Yeah, he's making a joke. He's not calling for violence, he's making a joke. He then posted this. A photo you could smell. And finally, I hate them, misogynists and homophobes. Fuck off. Right, or fuck them. That's all he posted. That's all he posted. And that got him a visit from 5 armed police officers at the airport, which almost triggered a heart attack to him. Now on the surface, this is just another day in the UK. That's all it is. Another day in the UK, another injustice, another freedom eroded away. But there is actually more to it than that. Right? This is just a symptom of a much bigger problem, of a much larger issue. And that is that our police state is just woefully inadequate, woefully under-equipped, and is unable to deal with the problems that we're facing in modern day Britain, in the UK. Our policing system was designed to police via consent. But how can people give consent if they weren't born here, raised here, if they just got off the dinghy? They're just not going to be able to understand that concept. All they understand is violence and power. That is it. That's all they get. So they're not going to be able to be policed via consent. So our police system is slowly but surely facing more and more and more violent crime, but is still unable to deal with it because it doesn't have the faculties to deal with it. And I'm going to show you where this comes from, okay? Look at this. This was in July 2020. This was 2 years ago, right? 90% of crimes go unsolved. And that was Labour. Labour was saying this 2 years ago. This is not a new thing. This is not something that have just suddenly occurred. No, crime has been on the rise for year after year after year. And most importantly of all, it has been going unsolved. Criminality has been going unpunished in this country for years and years and years. The driving factors behind this are innumerable. But let me tell you a few. The first is race. The state is terrified of being called racist. A lot of these people that are from foreign lands, foreign countries, a foreign diaspora, a foreign culture, a lot of these crimes are being perpetrated by those people. We have the data, it's really clear. So this is one piece of data. As you can see in the last few years, the convictions of foreign nationals versus British nationals have radically gone up. Sexual offences have increased, robbery has increased, criminal damage has increased, drug offences, possession of a weapon. It's all gone up. Convictions in the last 5 years have been going up and up and up for foreign nationals, especially in comparison to native Brits. This should never be the case. They come here, they take care jobs, they take care criminals, they take care crime. It's unbelievable. But what about the raw data? Okay, we already understand that a lot of people are being convicted for a lot more crimes. Foreign nationals are being convicted for a lot more crimes. That we're having people that are constantly being harassed and convicted by the police, arrested by the police for thought crimes or speech crimes. But why? Why is that happening? And why does it appear to be happening? The answer is really quite simple when you look at it. They're much easier to police. What happens? Online, where's the evidence? The evidence is in a post, it's written down, it's right there. If someone steals something, someone robs something from you, well, now you've got to find the robber, now you've got to find the CCTV, now you've got to do all this extra work. But why do that when you can get the crime stats up and your arrest stats up just by arresting people online for what they say and think and do? It's not hurting anybody, except someone's feelings. But real crime is going unaddressed, because it's harder to deal with. And here are the facts, and here's the stats. First things first, here are some headline findings. 1 in 9 offences involving a firearm were closed with a charge summons outcome by the end of the year. So that basically means, right, that around 10% of cases get charged. So 90% of all crimes with a gun go unsolved. 90%. So if I shot somebody, 9 times out of 10, I'll be fine. How is that possible in a first world country like ours? How is that even feasible? And it gets worse, okay? Knife-enabled offences, so knife crime, perpetrated usually by black ethnic youths, let's face it, in inner cities. Well, what's happening with those? Same again. Around 10%. Around 10% of all cases involving a crime go unsolved. So if you assault someone with a knife, if you hurt someone with a knife, 9 times out of 10, you'll be perfectly fine, you'll be alright. How is this possible? How is this feasible? That in a country like ours, that statistically speaking, it takes 10 people to get stabbed before the police would actually be effective enough to do anything. That's statistics. That is what we're seeing. And this is not just something that someone's come out of with nowhere. These are the crime statistics from the Home Office. This is absolutely fucking mad. And look at this, okay? This figure's really interesting to me. Look at this. Proportion of victim-based offences resulting in a charge and or summons or evidential difficulties outcome of no suspect identified, blah, 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 blah. Basically what this means is that we can see over the last 9 years what's happened. So this line here, right, investigation complete, no suspect identified, has gone down by roughly 10%. So in the last 10 years, while investigations have been completed, they haven't found a suspect. An increase of 10% over the last 10 years. What does this tell you? What does this tell you? It tells us that more and more crimes are being committed. The police are stretched thin, and they're stretched thin because who are committing the crimes? I don't know. Maybe it's people who aren't meant to be here. Wow, isn't that an incredible leap? Isn't that incredible? Isn't that crazy? And you can see this figure here as well. Look at this number go down. Radically go down. It's halved. It's halved. The amount of charged and summoned people has halved in the last 10 years. How can this go on? It's really clear to me, and anyone who has functioning eyes and a semi-functioning brain, that the crime statistics are really a key indicator of what's going on in this country. We've imported a diaspora of people who are criminals. Those people then go on and commit criminal acts. Our police force is totally incapable of dealing with these new Britons that have come here from God knows where. And because they're unable to deal with them, the amount of people being charged has decreased. Which is why you get people like Graham Linehan, who has said something that has caused some offence, why he is being charged and he is being targeted, and why so many others are experiencing exactly the same thing. Because it's easier for the police to target those people because the evidence is right there. They have to do less work to get the conviction, less work to get a charge and a summons, much less work because it's all there. Statistics tell us you're more likely to get away with stabbing someone or shooting someone around 6 to 8 times, sometimes even 10 times, before the police will catch up to you. But if you post a tweet saying something mildly offensive to a group of people who are more likely to have mental health conditions and mental health issues, you get snapped up like that. And if you look at the data, it's really clear. You know, I'm actually really quite concerned about this country. Bit of real talk now. I'm really concerned about it. Because if crime rate is going up, and if the number of people being charged is going down, that means that we're now getting more and more and more crime and more people feeling as though they're not being listened to, not being heard. There's a reason why so many people call Keir Starmer two-tier Keir, amongst other things. They call him that because he is the figurehead of a two-tier police state. And that is why so many people are so angry at the grooming gangs. Because for years and years and years, for decades in fact, these people have been allowed to operate in this country from the industrial scale rape of our women and children. And this bullshit around, arresting a comedian over what he said, that is just an outcome of a police system which are scared to arrest foreign individuals for crimes which they know, if reported, would cause mass outrage. It's easier to arrest people because of tweets than rape, murder, assault, grooming, etc. And you know this is true because the state was so scared of admitting the fact that they've imported a group of people which have raped and abused and groomed our young girls. They would rather have that happen than admit the fact that it's their fault. So what do they call them back in the 2010s and the late 2000s? They called these 12-year-old children child prostitutes. You cannot have a child prostitute. They would rather tell you that working class girls prostituted themselves to Muslim men than tell you that their liberal dream state has failed. That's the reality. And so when we look at this data, that's what it tells us. I think the future, and I'm not endorsing this obviously, before the fuzz try and kick down my door for thinking I'm inciting violence, I'm not, so I'm not endorsing this. I think the future is sectarian vigilantism, quite honestly. I think we're going to get lots of native Brits coming together, feeling as though that they've been left out by the police, they can't trust the police anymore, and they're going to start burning down buildings, they're going to start attacking people, they're going to start taking things into their own hands. Again, I'm not endorsing this, disavow, but I think that's where we're heading. Because if the trend continues, that is the inevitable outcome. And until it becomes clear that things are actually in a better direction, I think it's going to be inevitable.